Have you ever wanted to do something in your life? Like you have this intuitive knowing, this dream, this vision that there is something you yearn to create, something you know, deep down you know you'd be good at. But then you get railroaded by not feeling like you have enough qualifications, not feeling like anyone would come to your beautiful offering, like there would be something standing in the way of you actually doing that and succeeding. And maybe that something standing in your way is that feeling that you're not enough. You don't have the qualifications, you don't have the experience. Who am I to want to do that? And I'm here, like Marianne Williamson said in one of her beautiful snippets out of one of her books, which I will quote later in the podcast, you are enough, and who are you not to be? So today we're going to talk about worth and really helping to access your dreams. Let's do this. Hello and welcome to the Awakened Divine Feminine podcast. I am Evening Star Nightwalker and I will be your host for today as we talk about being enough, of worth and value and accessing those gifts that we have within each and every single person in this world, you included, have a sacred gift to offer and to learn and to heal through. You see, in astrology, we have a planet called Chiron. And Chiron is, in the myth, the wounded healer. And the wounded healer, he was a centaur and he was an epic shaman, and he got this wound that he could not heal. And when he wasn't able to heal himself, what actually is the teaching and lesson through this myth is that sometimes our greatest wounds are the gifts that we actually need to learn so that we can share those with others. It's not always the case. It's not always that way that the sacred gift you have to share with the world is that which has given you your greatest wounding. But when we think of the difference between history and her story, our history is those accolades that, your qualifications, all the things that make you feel confident and capable of doing something. Because society has said throughout eons of, through the patriarchal society anyway, since like the birth of Christ, we are judged and, what's the word I'm looking for? We are, when someone, they don't judge you, but they appraise you. So your accolades, your acknowledgements are criticized and judged and appraised through your academic acknowledgements, your academic successes and what you've been and studied and how many certifications that you've got and how many jobs that you've had, and masculine. All of that is that history. And it's often, if you have been through any form of diploma or degree or even a master's, it doesn't necessarily give you all the skills you need to go out and be the master in that specific topic or category. But when we look at our her story, and that's not just for women, because women have a history, men have a history, women have a her story, and men have a her story. A her story is your experience. This is that all of the things that you go through in your life, all of the things that equate to, going into those dark night of the souls, all of that elation and celebration, all of the things that you may not have actually felt like you received in your childhood that you desired, all of the things that you've experienced through the good, the bad, and the unspeakable throughout your life, all of your births, birthing children, birthing businesses, all of the experiences that you have been throughout your life equate to your her story. And this her story, I believe, and I am not the only one, this is more of what gives someone credit to be able to teach, to be able to talk about, to be able to be worthy and enough, to share the process that they went through to overcome whatever it was that was their greatest wound, that thing that showed up in their life potentially out of the blue that they had to fight tooth and nail to get through. And by doing so, they became the people that they were, and potentially the master of their own domain around a certain topic or subject or a certain emotion, that allowed them to then say, or not to say, but allowed them then to share that story with others, to inspire, to empower, to implore other women, other men, other people in this world to know that they are not alone and that they can overcome anything. And I guarantee you, if you're going through a dark night of the soul, if you feel like you've hit rock bottom and you don't know a way out, I guarantee there is someone out there sharing a similar story. And that is why I love to bring women together in women's circles, because when we share our stories and we realize we're not alone, there is so much healing that happens, because we can share what resources, what tools, what understanding we each have around certain topics that allows us to come into a state of acceptance, self-acceptance, and a state of worthiness within ourselves to know that we are enough, that we have every single thing inside us that we need to get through whatever it is that life throws our way. And grief has been coming up so much in myself, in my clients, in the world around me. And it's been really interesting to lean into that grief and to see how everyone processes it differently, and what people need and what they feel they need, and then what really helps, and all of the layers in between. Because grief and loss it's like this beautiful phase of the moon that we're in right now, of the dark moon time. This winter phase of life is something that our society has shunned, has repressed, has let go of, and said, nope, we will not get old. We will not decay. You shall stay young and fertile forever. And when you are past your fertile years, then you are null and void. Did you know that when a young girl gets her period, it is said in Australian First Nations peoples that she meets her power? Through her menstruating years, she practices her power. And then at menopause, she owns her power. I am so excited to get these rites of passage happening again, to get these conversations happening again around menarche, which is your first bleed, around menstruation and aligning our ways with the moon. And if you haven't yet listened to my podcast, Moving with the Moon, Becoming a Goddess, all month long, go back and check it out. It is very much a stream of consciousness, and there is so much within that podcast. So I will break that down in future podcasts into each phase of the moon and the lunar cycle, so that we can align that with our menstrual cycle. And for women who aren't bleeding anymore, we actually are aligned with the moon. So knowing what our body is capable of in this cyclical infradian rhythm, which is the 27 to 29 day cycle, that is the second biological clock in women. This second biological clock, when we come into aligning with that again, tracking it, being in align with it, being in sync with it, we start to get to know ourselves so much better. And to get to know ourselves so much better, we start to increase our trust in our bodies. Because in so many cases, through our education system, through our upbringing, through our cultural narrative, we have been told that... I just completely lost my train of thought, so hang on a minute, let me backtrack a second. We've been told that our mind is what, we need to strive to have an active mind. We need to make sure we're thinking right. We need to, make sure we're comparing ourselves against everyone else. And this mind, it's like we've cut ourselves off from the neck down. And feeling is not okay. I'm not sure if you're like me, but I experienced, whether it's the truth or not, my experience of my childhood was that it wasn't safe to show emotion. Either I would upset someone else or my emotions were too much. But if you know anything about astrology, I have a Scorpio moon conjunct Uranus. So it's like, wow, implosion central for my emotions and all happening in my 8th house. So it's like this deep, deep, hidden, crazy, gorgeous. I'm learning that this emotional side of me is gorgeous and it's deep and it's potent, and it brings out that in my clients and it brings out that in, my friends. And I love sitting down with my 9-year-old and having those really deep conversations because she's a Virgo and we've just hit Virgo time. And, she wants to be, like Virgos want to be in this pure alignment with consciousness. They have this, virgin quality, which means owning their own space, owning their own sovereignty, and being pure enough to have that direct consciousness with spirit. And, through doing that, there's a purity of body that needs to happen, and a purity of, creating the vessel, the body vessel, to be pure and clear enough for spirit to speak through. And, as each of the astrological signs move one into the next, we've just kind of come out of this Leo season where it's all like out there and how can I play and how can I be courageous and how can I show myself in the world, to kind of going, how can I do all of that? Now we're coming into Virgo, and how can I bring all of that into my body and actually live it? How can I be in this space and allow this part of me to be expressed through me? And then as we move into Scorpio, it's that deepening again into, the very, very underworld depths of who we are. And so, when we are cut off from the neck down and we are taught that it's all about thinking and striving and goals and achievement, again, it's a masculine construct, we forget about the feminine, the feeling, the body, the embodiment, the somatic parts of us that, all of these beautiful somatic practitioners, the gurus, the ones that wrote the book, or the gentleman that wrote the book, who I can't think of his name, he was the one that wrote the book, Your Body Keeps Score, and your body does keep score. So knowing that and feeling that and being able to actually get into our bodies, to get out of the mind that says I'm not worthy enough of acting on this inner knowing that I have a gift to share. I'm not educated enough. I'm a woman. I can't do that. How could I possibly step up into that? Who am I to do that? And who are you not to? And this is where I wanted to share with you a excerpt. I can never say that word, like a snippet, a part taken out of Marianne Williamson's book, A Return to Love, reflections on the principles of A Course in Miracles. Her kind of, it's penned as this, not a poem, but a quote that's called Our Deepest Fears. And she says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God within us. It is not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Oh my God, I love that. I just love it. And if you are not like me, like I'm not religious in the sense of, I'm very, very religious, but I'm not religious in the sense of God speak. I believe in Great Spirit and I believe in Mother Earth, and I also believe that, whatever we call this higher power, it doesn't matter. So for someone else to have the same conversation with me, I might call this higher power Great Spirit, and they might call it God, and we have the same prayers and we have the same deep love and respect for this higher power. But, when she speaks about the glory of God within us, that glory of God within us to me means that the light within you that shines through God's eyes, the light within you that is you coming into manifest your greatest gifts, your best version of you, and as that glory of God within you, as you make manifest that, could that not possibly be that deep knowing that you were here to create? I'm using this example because this morning I was on a beautiful call with some of my clients, and we were all talking about what businesses we were manifesting and how that felt, and what were our restrictions and hesitations, and how to actually drop into that field of infinite possibility so we could drop the history and drop the unworthiness and actually step into the I am worthy. Because who are you not to act on this inner knowing? Who are you not to say, yes, this is for me? But we've been deeply conditioned and programmed to have the certification, to have the qualification, to have to be, qualified in some other person's eyes to teach a certain subject. Where if we have our her story, that gift, that glory of God within you, your experience, your knowing, your deep and true feminine wisdom, your remembering of the times you have been in this earthly plane before, whether it be through past lives, if you believe in past lives, or whether it be that through the DNA structure, when your grandmother was pregnant with your mother, from 20 weeks, all of her eggs, all of your mother's eggs were already developed within her ovaries. So that means that from 20 weeks of gestation in your grandmother's body, you were an egg. So DNA passed from your grandma directly to you. Then you actually experienced your entire mother's life in her body up until the moment she gave birth to you. And so if we think about being an egg inside your grandmother's stomach, and your grandmother was an egg inside of her womb, it is so awakening, so enlightening to feel into that and think, well, okay, so the direct lineage, so this is called the red thread that you hold in your mother's lineage, your mother line, and all of the experiences, good, bad, and unspeakable, are held in that genetic memory. Then not only are you conditioned through this life that you've been living, but you're carrying the conditioning and the, gifts and everything else that has come through your red thread of your mother line. And so this is where reconnecting to our menstrual cycles, honouring menarche for our young women, really praising mothers as they birth for that ultimate, crazy, amazing power that they have to birth their babies. Instead of making birth all about the baby, we kind of bring that back and make it about mum. And then for the conversation and the awareness to come back around menopause, that menopause is not something that we are afflicted with. It's not a disease or a condition. It's a rite of passage. And my teacher, Jane Hardwick Collins, she's from the School of Shamanic Womencraft. She said that she never thought that there would be a greater transformation or a greater power felt within her, except for those moments where she gave birth, until she hit menopause. And she said it was the great awakener. It was that amazing power that came into her body, and all of the neural pruning that happens at that time, to be consciously aware of that was totally empowering. And as she was empowered through this and all of her shamanic studies through Janine Parvati Baker, and then her teacher, that lineage that they carry, they call the hot flashes, power surges. And they also, Jane was talking about, when a power surge happens, to become aware of what's actually happening within your thought processes, within your body, within your habits, at that kind of around that moment, because those power surges are coming through to help you see what is out of alignment in your life. So all of this layering of what we are carrying, who we have become, and who we deeply know we can be, really hinges on, am I enough? Am I enough to act on this deep inner knowing that I am meant to start a beautiful, creative art therapy course for mums, which was a beautiful example of one of our ladies in our call this morning. And I was like, who are you not to be? Yes. And she thought she might have to go and study a coaching course. She might have to go and study something else. But it was like, you have everything in the resources you already have to begin now. And then if gaps come up later and that you want to increase that study and you want to increase that knowledge, when you have looked within, then you can find the answers to what you need, and the right programs will show up, or the right teacher will show up. And we start to deconstruct that deeper feeling that we are unworthy, that we are not good enough, that we are conditioned to think that who are we to do this when other people have failed, or that there's so many people out there doing it who are amazing at it and have the qualifications. But this might be the gift that you came into this world to share with your unique blueprint, with your unique flair. And there are billions and billions of people in this world that not every single person knows of those other people that you know of. And, you know, our gifts come through in a way that someone says, oh my gosh, how do you do that? And you think to yourself, I thought everyone could do that, or I didn't realize that was a challenge. That is a glimpse and a hint to you to know that you are accessing your genius zone, that you are tapping into something really primal and visceral within, and that is something to practice within yourself, to bring forth, so that you can work with that yourself and develop ways that then maybe you can share that with your community, with your kids, with the world. Sweetheart, your beautiful thread in this tapestry called life is so essential, and it is needed. And the world is waiting for you to claim that gift, to claim that light within you, and to stop playing small, to stop shying away from that deeper knowing within you that says, I can do this, and this is something that would light me up. So don't listen to that deeper voice, not deeper voice, but that subliminal, superficial voice that says, oh, who are you to do that? Why? You're not worthy, you're not capable, you're not qualified. Like, you know, stay with your 9-to-5 job that you hate and, you know, sit on your deathbed and regret every minute of your life. Like, that is not, I can't imagine anyone would want to sit on their deathbed and go, I wish I had have. You know, not many people regret the things that they have done, but many, many people regret the things that they never had the courage to do. So to feel into this beautiful space of I am worthy, I am enough, it's a practice, it's a continual practice and an art form. And it's about, for me, I believe that sitting in Sacred Women's Circle is the way to raise our vibration and share our stories and come into healing the sister wound. And if you don't know much about the sister wound, which is all the gossiping and the competition and the judgment around women that kind of stemmed from the patriarchy's, you know, war tactic of divide and conquer, send that woman there, send that woman there. Don't let them come together, because they knew when women come together, shit gets real and magic happens. So when we bring women back together, when we also allow our children, both male and female, or whatever they identify as, it doesn't matter. All of our children need to see women congregating, gathering, coming back together, sharing their stories, talking about blood rights, talking about what it's like to be woman, and to be able to have emotion and cry and hold space for each other in a way that says you are not broken. You do not need fixing, because you're not broken. It's just another layer on the story, or her story, that makes you who you are. So I invite you, before I finish up the podcast today, I just invite you to contemplate, even for a moment, if it's safe to do so, like close your eyes for a moment and just reflect upon all of the things that have happened in your life, who you were raised by, your siblings, the stories you carry, all of your history, your wounds, your abuses, all of it. Reflect upon it and see whether you can bring all of that into today, and see how each and everything, good, bad, or unspeakable, has given you a gift to become the woman that you are today. And if you would like to break down that patriarchal, I'm not enough, who am I to be, I can't act on that because I need to have X amount of money coming in, and I need to own my own house, and I need to have 2 cars and all the toys and all of that sort of stuff. If you want to break down all that materialistic stuff and truly step into alignment with your soul's purpose, I'll put a link in the show notes for expressions of interest for my awakening program called Awaken, which is beginning at the beginning of November. So that is a beautiful 8-week program where we sit each week in Sacred Women's Circle, and we actually move through the 7 chakras and look at how we've been programmed. But being the fact that there is no plant without a root, there is no way to grow unless we have a grounding and a foundation. We spend 2 weeks in the root, because my beautiful astrology mentor, Lynn Smith from Brisbane, if you ever want to treat a reading, look her up. She's phenomenal. She said to me one day, she said, the root is the root is the root. And although I've been studying this for over 30 years, it was what really got me. It was like, without our roots, we can't draw in nourishment. Without our roots, we can't have strength. Without our roots, we can't have flexibility. So to be able to move through this program and work out when we get into survival, when we hit autopilot, how to move with the moon, how to come into your own inner light and your own inner fire, how to unprogram the mind and, excuse me, work with forgiveness and acceptance. And then how to speak our truth, how to claim back the right to have a voice. And then how to see the intimacy within yourself through second sight, through intuition, through really embracing the feminine, and then manifesting your greatest gifts into this world. That is the Awaken program. It is birthing yourself into being. It is reprogramming, reframing. It is done and held in sisterhood. And it is so exciting, because with all of the background work that I've been doing over the last 12 months, I actually haven't run this program for 12 months, and it is my favorite thing to do. So as we come through the next 2 months, in the lead up to Awaken, I'll be sharing a lot about what it's about. But if you want to check it out, sign up, or express interest, click that link in the show notes, and I'll hook you up. But sister, this I am enough, something that you can write on your mirror, something so powerful that Marissa Peer, she's a world-renowned hypnotherapist that does the RTT therapy, rapid transformational therapy. She has created an entire business around the tagline, I am enough. And she does have a beautiful book on the same topic, which if you haven't read, it is so worthwhile. And it's also available in audiobooks. But she said in her book that having I am enough written on a wall in a house where you have children, where you read it yourself, can actually change the inner programming of this I am not worthy, I am not enough. And it is on an exponential level. So maybe set your alarm every half an hour, every single day, for every half an hour, that says I am enough. Read it. Say it out loud. Write it on your mirror in whiteboard marker or in lipstick, and just say it to yourself enough so that it starts to ripple through your vibration. So it starts to open you to the field of infinite possibility that already exists both within you and around you. And if we are going to birth a new world, a new consciousness, and allow for the wounded sisterhood to be healed, to allow for the healed sisterhood to be back in our everyday life, we must start believing that we are enough, that you are exactly who you are meant to be in this moment, in this time. And you will know when you're out of alignment. You will hate your job. You will question your relationship. You will be already thinking about those habits that set you back and keep you playing small. So this is all about deep inner questioning, but it's not about judgment and criticism. Judgment and criticism come from the wounded sisterhood. The judgment and criticism comes from the patriarchy of divide and conquer of the women. What we are looking for is to be kind and gentle. I was about to say giant and gentle. Kind and gentle with yourself. I'm mixing my words. So that you can truly soften into knowing that you are loved, knowing that you can trust yourself, knowing that when those deep inner soul whispers start to communicate with you, that you will listen. And it might be that you don't quit your day job until this passion project is birthed and making you money. And it might mean working late or, sacrificing some time of doing social media scrolling. Check out your screen time on your phone. How much time do you spend doing that? All of these things come into how can I deepen into this knowing within myself. And in a podcast in the next couple of weeks, I'll also be talking about deepening your intuition through the 5 or 6 clear senses and activating that part of you that truly is able to trust and know what it is that your soul is speaking to you about, so that you can connect to God, to Source, to Mother Earth, to feel connected. Because ultimately in this world, I believe that the 2 things that we seriously need to achieve, to find, is connection and acknowledgement. And this acknowledgement must come from self before it can come from anyone else. But if we think about the old traditions of the red tent again, babies were born into this beautiful gaggle of women who celebrated and, honoured this baby in its becoming, it was belonged into this beautiful environment. And then when it was time, it was wrapped and passed to the father to be held up to the community, where it was then acknowledged. And as we have a sense of belonging and acknowledgement, we have a deeper sense of safety and security within our own selves and within our community. And that is something that I feel we really need to bring back together. And you know what? I'll say it again. I'll say it once. I'll say it twice. I'll say it 1,000,000 times. For me, that is where Sacred Women's Circle brings us back together. So if you want to join me in Sacred Women's Circle, I hold a community Sacred Women's Circle every full moon. And for every new moon, I also hold a Sacred Women's Circle for all of my women in my inner circle. So if you become part of the Awaken program, you will be able to access that as well. And also, with Ascension coaching, which is my one-on-one coaching, you get to access that too. So, sister, thank you for listening. I am so glad you're here because you are enough. You are worthy and you have something to share. And I cannot wait for all of the comments below, for you to reach out for me to see you in Awaken, to really see those gifts come to life and for you to birth yourself into being. Have a beautiful day, sister.